Hello, everybody. My name's Isaiah, and today we've got a bit more of a serious video, a possible controversial video if you look at it in certain ways. But today I'm going to pose the question, does Lorne Armstrong have fetal alcohol syndrome? And just before I answer that question, I am not a registered medical professional, although I do have insight into the medical profession and I do have some knowledge, but take what I say with a grain of salt. Um, it's just my opinion, and of course, my opinion can be incorrect as it's not, a professional opinion. But yeah. So the question, of course, is: does Lorne Armstrong have pFAS? Um, and I believe he doesn't have fetal alcohol syndrome, but I do think he may have partial fetal alcohol syndrome. Um, and that's basically the short answer. He has partial fetal alcohol syndrome. Now, I'll just go over the disease itself, or the disorder, sorry, itself, just quite briefly. So, basically, it occurs when a person whose mother drank alcohol during pregnancy. So you'll be blaming Mother Gwen for that. Um, Problems include abnormal appearance, short height. Now, I don't know how tall Lorne is. I could look it up, but I'm not. Low body weight. Yeah, he's a pretty big sort of guy, though. Small head size. You could contend that. Poor coordination. Low intelligence. Now, low intelligence is a debatable one. I do believe his intelligence is slightly lower in some aspects. Some aspects, of course, not. I mean, he ran his own septic tank business, so he knows how to run a business, I'm guessing. I mean, he said he ran it, may have just been an employee. But the main concern with the low intelligence is that he has been catfished a lot in his life, and he has an inability to learn in regards to that. Now, also with the low intelligence, I think it may just be a social intelligence he's lacking. But again, it's all opinion, pretty much. Behavior problems. He does display some abnormal behaviors. For example, sending penis pictures most of the time to most people he meets that are female. Even to just crying, a 37-year-old crying at the end of most calls. Now, that may be, depression. He's been through a fucking lot in the past 10 years. So he may have developed some sort of depression or mental instability from that. But again, like his irregular drinking, his clinginess in relationships, and even to people who aren't in relationships with him, like Ember, he acts quite strange to her, and in particular when Ember wants to go to bed, and he's just so anxious, and there's that word anxious. No, but he's just so what's the word? Just so clingy. But they're not even in a relationship, and he's saying, you're gonna go fuck that guy now, and Ember's like, we're not in a relationship, Lorne. I can do whatever I want. Just strange little behaviors and just phrases he uses and problems with hearing and seeing. Not particularly sure about that one. Maybe you could ask Ember or someone who knows him a bit about that. Again, more likely to have trouble in school. I don't think he was the brightest child, but again, this is all speculation. Now here, legal problems. Lorne has had a big legal problem in his life, and whether this is related to fetal alcohol syndrome, you know, it's anyone could put a bet on it and say it is or it isn't. But he has had legal problems, obviously, and his way in resolving it has been quite questionable. The $80 million lawsuit, just extremely ridiculous, kind of lacking in intelligence, if you ask me. But on the contrary to that, if you read through the lawsuit, there is some intelligence in it. I mean, it's a lawsuit. It's yeah, they're not easy to write, so he does portray some intelligence in that aspect. But there are parts of it, for example, her having female powers over him, and different parts that do question his intelligence. But again, like legal problems comes up, participating in high risk behaviors. The sting, no, he does tend to kind of participate in high risk behaviors, but in a social aspect. So, chatting online and sending his genitals to people, knowing that they could be leaked, but he still does it anyway. It's a different kind of high risk behavior. And before I go on, just remember, I believe he has partial fetal alcohol syndrome. So before we move on, I might just quickly define to you what that is in comparison to complete fetal alcohol syndrome. So partial fetal alcohol syndrome here, confirmed history of prenatal alcohol exposure. They may lack the growth deficiency or complete facial stigmata. Central nervous system damage is present at the same level as fetal alcohol syndrome, so there is still considerable intellectual defects. May have some functional disabilities, but look less like fetal alcohol syndrome. And that's the main key there, because Lorne, he does display some fetal alcohol syndrome traits, but he's not necessarily someone who you'd see and say, yeah, they've got it. There are just a few lingering traits. And that's really the key here, because fetal alcohol syndrome facial features, 2 or 3 fetal alcohol syndrome fetal alcohol syndrome facial features are present. So not all of them, but a couple are. And Lorne does display a couple, so it is possible that Mother Gwen had a few drinks when she had him. Again, growth deficiency can be normal. Central nervous system damage, clinically significant structural, neurological, or functional impairment in 3 or more of the 10 brain domains. So it's possible. I mean, it's anyone's guess until he goes and actually gets it checked out. Let's have another look here. So we've gone over exactly what it can do. And after the high risk behaviors, also and have trouble with alcohol or other drugs. Now, I don't know about Lorne's drug abuse, but I do know he drinks quite often, okay? And so do a lot of people, and that doesn't mean they have fetal alcohol syndrome, but I know it's just another point of comparison between Lorne and partial fetal alcohol syndrome. And I've got to point it out. But again, it doesn't mean he has all these points here. He could just be a completely normal person. Sorry, I don't mean to trigger anyone, but he can be fetal alcohol syndrome affected. He may just be a completely average, non-disabled, non-disorder containing person and display these traits. That's fine. But the fact that he kind of looks like he has fetal alcohol syndrome partially, and he displays a lot of these traits, it does lead to the possible association. Again, causation doesn't lead to association, all that thing, but it's just particularly interesting, and I just want to cover it a bit. Anything else I want to talk about on this reliable source I'm on right now? Look, other risk factors include older mother. I don't know how old Mum Gwen was, but smoking. Did she smoke? Did she have a poor diet? These can all confer to the child. While drinking small amounts of alcohol does not cause abnormalities in the face, it may cause behavioural issues. Now, I just said Lorne's behaviour is quite erratic and sporadic and, just completely odd. That may be a factor. So how does it actually affect the child? Just for your information, guys, the alcohol crosses the blood-brain barrier and both directly and indirectly affects the developing baby. So the blood-brain barrier normally is pretty impermeable, and the alcohol itself can just penetrate it. Again, just avoid alcohol, parents. You don't want to give your child. You don't want your child to be involved in a sting operation on to catch a predator, and then after serving 5 years in prison, 3 years outside of prison, you find out that their son is worshipped as a religious figure for whom he went to go and molest a child. You don't want that to happen to your son, so don't drink, mothers who are currently listening. So now we're going to analyze the difference between Lorne and a child with fetal alcohol syndrome. And don't forget, only a couple of these need to be present for the child to partially display fetal alcohol syndrome, which is what I believe Lorne has, just again, to reiterate. So small head. Not necessarily, it does look like he may have a big head, but looking at this baby here, it doesn't look like it has the smallest head. Short nose, I tend to disagree with that. I think his nose is quite well developed. It actually may be bigger, but again, the lighting's quite questionable. Flat upper lip, flat upper part of the nose. Where are we looking here? Again, it seems pretty flat there, but you can't tell with the lighting. It's not the best photo. Small eye openings. Nah, they're okay. His eyes do, as an adult, seem maybe a bit small. His eye shape is definitely questionable. Okay, let's have a look at it here. Now, are his eyes small in comparison to his face? Possibly, you could say that. Are they normal? Again, possibly you could say that too. But again, that's anyone's bet. Anyone could say yes or no. Folds of skin between the eyes and nose. So that's what I believe is here. And I do think Lorne has that feature. You can see some folding there. And I'll have a look at one of the other photos I have here. Again, there are folds of skin there as well. And his eyes do look quite small there too, I will admit. I know this is an adult version of Lorne here, but this may be a better photo to help look at this. So short nose, no. Flat upper part of the nose, possibly. Thin upper lip. Now this is one characteristic that is present in the baby photo, I do believe. Now have a look at that. Have a look at the bottom lip here in comparison to the top lip. And just again, I'd like to reiterate, this baby actually looks like the baby in question here too. So anyway, back to the photo. He does have a considerably larger bottom lip than the top. Now, is it because his mouth's open? Possibly. Maybe if he shut his mouth, they're both the same. But the top lip does look very, very small in comparison to the bottom lip. So that's a trait there. And so there's been maybe a couple of traits. In this photo, can't really tell. His bottom lip, I think, comes down here. So he's making a little face there, kind of cheeky, playful grin. So maybe not. What else have we got here? Smooth area between nose and upper lip there. It does seem a bit smooth, but so does everyone's. There's like a little ridge if you run your hand across the space between your nose and upper lip that goes in and then back out. So let's have a look at the adult photo to see if he's got it here. Yeah, I can see it there. It dips in and out. So, and again here, it's not flat there. So he doesn't show all traits. Now, keeping in mind, I did say partial fetal alcohol syndrome. Now let's have a look here. This is one of the main things I think that Lorne has. So here, pinna and tragus. Don't exactly know what that means, but I think it's just highlighting they're abnormal. One of the most abnormal features that Lorne has is his ear. His ears, sorry, plural. He has quite pointy and protruding ears, and I do believe that is related to this partial fetal alcohol syndrome. You've got the lip, you've got the ears, the jaw is quite, it's quite odd in my opinion. Not correct. The philtrum, that's an indentation. I think it's normal. I can't tell. The outer canthus. Now this is talking about the outer eye here. Inner canthus. Do they look abnormal? Not 100% sure. Um, Again, I think this is just pointing out the abnormalities, not necessarily um, that they're present. Everyone's got an inner and outer canthus and alar, which is the outer part of the nose. Just if they look abnormal. There are abnormalities. Lorne is an abnormal looking baby. Um, Not the most beautiful baby. I mean, he's cute a little bit, but there are things about him that you say, ugh, nah. He's going to grow up and look like Lorne Armstrong, which he did. He is Lorne Armstrong. I've got another photo here. This is probably a more extreme version. Small eye openings, yeah. Flat mid face, nah. But this is a baby. I mean, and this is an extreme example here. Look at that gap and nose shrinkage. He doesn't have that. Now that could be one of the things that really says that he doesn't have even partial alcohol syndrome because his nose is quite normal, I think, even in the adult photos. And let's get some adult photos up now because that may help a bit more. There's one there. It's like Tetris. There's one there. Look at Lorne. Who would have thought that one day I would just be analysing whether a sex offender had fetal alcohol syndrome? Look at that smirk. The ears, again, quite odd. The eyes, I do believe he's got small eyes as an adult. The lower lip to upper lip comparison, they do seem normal. Okay, I will admit that. I'm still not convinced with the ears. I do think his ears are quite odd. Again, now I'm looking at his upper lip and I'm starting to reconsider. Now he's got the philtrum, he's got the indentation. I think that skin fold, just maybe him being tired, to be honest. What differentiates someone with bags under their eyes and someone with an inner canthus, which is epicanthal fold? I don't know. Could be. But, I mean, you have to get a registered GP, general practitioner, to properly diagnose it. What else can I say? It's really hard to say, and that's one of the things which I think really indicates that he may have it because there are so many ifs, buts, flip of the coins. Not total alcohol syndrome, but I think partial fetal alcohol syndrome. And again, with his intelligence, he lacks in so many aspects of intelligence. He just does not understand the concept of trolling still, catfishing. He's starting to understand it, but I mean, it's been 10 years. More, because Amanda James trolled him. So, I don't know. I really don't know. It seems like the eyes of children with fetal alcohol syndrome, can't say it anymore, seem to be a bit more rounded than slanted. So this is actually starting to make me question whether he actually does have it. They're more rounded, I think. See, I thought fetal alcohol syndrome gave you more slanted eyes. He does have more slanted eyes. Look, it's anyone's guess whether he has it or not. This video has kind of persuaded me into thinking he doesn't now, more than he does. I think I kind of want to believe he has fetal alcohol syndrome. Uh, it would just help explain him a lot easier. And that's really what I'm trying to find out now. Like, what's wrong with the guy? We still don't know. Is he just a guy with low IQ? Maybe. Maybe that's all it is. Is he someone who's afflicted with this disorder? Who knows? Who knows? But again, only two traits need to be present for it to be partial fetal alcohol syndrome. The ears are definitely there. The eyes, yeah, the eyes could be there. So that's already two. That's already a possibility that he has it. Now, behavioral traits are all there. You've got him dabbling in legal problems and alcohol abuse, as well as, behavioral and low intelligence. He's a pretty short guy. He looks abnormal. I think I think you aren't definitely wrong if you argue partial fetal alcohol syndrome. I think you can argue against it quite comfortably, but you you can also argue he does have it too. So it's anyone's guess. Hope you enjoyed this video about a sex offender who may or may not have a disorder. And I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.